It is our last week of summer break. If you can't tell, I'm so excited. I am ready to get back into routine. I've put together a little checklist of things I want to get done this week, and I thought I'd share it with y'all. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jamie. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4 kiddos. They are 11, 9, 6, and 1 is almost 5. This is going to be our 7th year homeschooling. I can't even believe it. I feel so blessed and grateful. I'll be schooling 3 of my kiddos this year, my 3 older girls. I'm gonna wait another year on my son. He has a late birthday, and I think it's gonna be best to just allow him another year of some preschool fun and freedom. I had a goal this summer to really just soak in the break, right? We had kind of a crazy year last year and it felt really busy. So I wanted to really just zone in on relax and unwind and have boredom and have freedom. After that huge long break, I'm really ready to just jump in, mostly because I thrive on routine. I have a kid or 2 that really thrives on routine, and I am ready for it. I want to share with you kind of the things that I am going to set goals for this week so that when we start next week, it's not such a big shock to our system. A few of the things I've already done, and I'm going to share that with you, and then I'll kind of share what I hope to get done this coming week. First of all, the things that I've already done. 1, I've picked curriculum and I've shared that here. I just ordered the last things that I hadn't ordered yet, so that is coming. I look forward to getting those last pieces. The other thing that I've done is, and this is one of my first steps in preparing for the year, is making a yearly calendar. It looks something like this. I'll show it to you so you don't see it backwards. But basically, I print out this free calendar and I'll link it below, and I highlight how I want to do the year. I've numbered the weeks. I've marked certain days that are related to our co-op, and I've written our breaks. I like to break every 6 weeks, but with this new co-op we're doing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that as consistently as I have in the past. So this is always just like a guide, but allowing myself to see this really helps me to plan our year and just to get a big picture of what the year is going to look like. And I find that making this decision ahead of time gives me more motivation and peace throughout the school year. So this really only took about 15 or 20 minutes, and then it's done. And if I need to change it throughout the year, I will, but it at least shows me some option. I've done this the last couple of years, and I just really find it helpful, especially when you get in those moments where you're kind of like, oh, I'm gonna lose my mind. I think I'm burning out. And you can say, okay, well, you know what? Next week I have a break marked down. And so you can kind of go. Or I might look at it and say, I need a break now. So I'm going to shift and take the break now and change it around. It's just a big picture item that really helps me get through the year. Oh, and it allows me to not feel guilty, because sometimes when you take time off, you're like, is this okay? Is this okay? And you know, it gives me the confidence, like, yeah, it's okay, because I've looked at the year. I know when the breaks are coming. I feel good about this. I've made a plan. I've made a decision. And so I like that confidence boost. Once my yearly plan is done, the other thing I like to do is practice our schedule. And I think I put a short little video up about that the other day, but I like to start practicing a flow. And I don't mean like giving them assignments or reading from a textbook or anything, but I do like to try out certain things in our day to help me figure out, okay, is this going to be a good time to do like a morning basket? Or, okay, is this going to be a good time to do an outside break? And so I can just kind of flow our day and try some things. And like, let's say in the year, I want to plan to do a morning basket, right? Where everybody gathers around. Okay, well, what I might do to practice this is I might say, hey, y'all, let's read this book together. And I just will pick a fun book to read to them. And I'll see, do I like the flow of this? Do I like this time where we sit down and read? Or do we need an outside break before this? So I like to play with my schedule a little bit like that, or I might just plan an intentional activity and think, okay, is this a time to be intentional with our learning? So an example of that might be, they come inside from an outside break and I say, oh, look, I set up some Play-Doh for you guys. And so we all sit and play Play-Doh. And I think to myself, this might be a good time to do lessons with so-and-so and whoever. So I like to just put things in my day to kind of say, okay, is this flow going to work for me? And I'm going to tell you what, I might have an idea and I get into the school year and we start putting the actual things in there and think, okay, that did not work with what I had in mind. But it just allows me to realize what our schedule could be, because the kids change so much. And like in another video I shared, this is my first year without a toddler in my home. So, you know, that's a new world. And I am like a little baffled by it. So just figuring out how long can they sit, right? And do they need a playtime, you know, during this part of the day? So just playing with our time this last couple of weeks has been really helpful to me in figuring out how I want to run our day. The next thing I'll work on is our weekly checklist. And this is something I've done for a couple of years and I love it. I might change how they look. I'll show you this so you can see. This is a rough draft. So it's basically just a checklist for each of my kids. Everybody has one. Let me show you some older ones so you can see what they look like and how they're used. But it's basically what I hope to accomplish in the day, and I can take notes or do anything like that as we work through our schedule. So I have kind of like a base checklist, and then I can basically go in and write any notes I want throughout the week. But it's so we all know what to expect and we know what we need to accomplish during the day. I started working on this already, and I was putting in all of our co-op stuff, and then I realized our co-op doesn't even start for like 5 weeks. So I have to totally revamp it and say, no, just focus on like a slower start. So this is going to be a slower start. We're not going to have all of our subjects that we have in our co-op. So I'm going to adjust my schedule accordingly. And that's one thing I love about this weekly checklist is I change it constantly. So if I realize, okay, this is not working, we're going to move this, I just go in and I change it on here. And I like that. I like that it's not permanent. And I also set it up kind of like when it's going to be accomplished during the day. So it becomes almost like a schedule. First, we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and that sort of thing. So I have some work to do on these, and I will make one for my 3 school-age kiddos. And each one will look different because they have different coursework. Okay, the other thing I like to do for planning is my monthly planning template. And this is another thing I did a couple of years ago, and I'll show it to you so it's not backwards. This planning template is probably one of my favorite things. And I think it's because it just really helps me feel accomplished each month. And it lets me see ahead of what we're doing. There was a year that I finished where I kind of just was like, wait, is it okay to be done? You know, like, did we do enough? And I hated that feeling. So I started doing this monthly plan where at the beginning of the month, I take about 30 minutes and I just jot down the lesson I hope to accomplish. And 30 minutes is a stretch. It's probably more like 15 or 20. But what it does is it gives me a big picture of the month and it helps me keep on track. Because let's say we have a day that, you know, it gets kind of busy. And a lot of times I might be like, oh, I'm going to skip something. This really gives me the motivation to say, no, if I do it, look where I'll get, you know? And so making that decision at the beginning of the month, it just helps me track, and it helps motivate me to just to keep up with our work. And I will say, like, it's definitely a guide. There are times when I say, whew, that was a day. We are not going to be able to accomplish everything. And I just make a note of that on here, and it helps me plan better for the next month. It really just gives me such a peace of mind knowing what's to come, and also just the checking, like we did it. We did what we wanted to do. It feels good. It's like a pat on the back every month, like keep on going. And I really like that. I also like to see ahead. I know when workbooks are going to be finished or units are going to be finished, and if I need to plan accordingly in that way. So this monthly checklist I will do just for August. I never do a bunch in a row. I don't like that. I like short-term goal planning. This 1 month goal is so helpful to me, and then the next month I'll do it again, and I can adjust based on my reflections of this. It's just that short-term planning is so nice for my head. I have some videos on planning these before. I'm not sure if I have one with my newer sheet that I love. I used to do it all separately with separate subjects, and now I have it on one sheet, which is super helpful. And this is free, so I'll link it down for you if you want to download that. I will need to look ahead at what's coming the first week, and that monthly schedule is going to help me do that. I do a lot of literature-based subjects in our homeschool where I'm going to need library books. So this week I'll be on the library website trying to get my library books to make sure that we have those as well, which is just another good reason to look ahead a little bit. I'm starting some picture book studies with my little ones. We'll be starting a new novel with my older girls. So it's just something I just want to be prepared, make sure I have the books ready to go. Okay, so that's kind of like the planny stuff, right? The next couple of things I want to do is to just kind of prepare so I'm not taking up our class time. So one of the things is setting up our portfolios. I recently published a video about setting up portfolios, and I'll link it below. But the secret to doing a portfolio, I'm going to tell you, is doing it at the beginning. Setting yourself up for success before you even start the school year. That is the trick. And so I like to make sure that that gets done before we even start our year. So what we'll do is we'll get our portfolio items, and I will set it up with the dividers in there, how I want to label them. Definitely check out that video linked below so you can kind of see how I do that. But setting up the portfolio before we even start is so helpful, because then it's out of my mind and it's ready to go. In the portfolio, I like to keep a sheet that has a first day of homeschool, and it kind of has their favorite things. I'll link this below. This is free. You know, their height, their age, what grade they're in, some things about their personality, and then I will usually print a picture of the first day of school and put it here. And I do this before the first day of homeschool, because this is the last thing I want to do on the first day of homeschool. Like, I want to do like our normal things. So getting this done the week before, it kind of gets the kids excited, right? So I let them decorate their portfolio. You know, it'll be a new crisp binder, new dividers, probably with their new pins, and they'll color a sheet or whatever, and then we'll do all of this, and they love that. And so it just kind of gets them excited. But then I'll store this in the portfolio so that it's done, and those two things will be checked off, ready to go. I have those memories, I have that documentation, and it's done. It doesn't have to interfere with my week, because when you start your homeschool week, it's a little overwhelming, to be honest, and I want it to flow smooth. And even though it's a lighter schedule, I don't want to be shoving in things that are unnecessary, like let's get this done before, and then we don't have to worry about it. Obviously, we're going to need to go school supply shopping, and I think that always gets my kids pumped up a little bit. I have made a list of things that they need for co-op, but also just things I'm running out around the house, and I'll take the kids to go, because once again, it just gets them excited. I do think that they get used to the freedom of summer, and they're kind of like, what? We got to start school. I want to do things to get them pumped up for the year too. So, because it is hard to start a school routine after a totally free break. So we'll go school supply shopping here this week. Another thing I'm going to do is clean out this school room. We don't do school in the schoolroom. It kind of just like stores our things, but there is stuff everywhere. And I just looked where I keep my kids' school books, and it's still the books from last year. So I obviously have some cleaning out I need to do. I tend to pile. So I have piles on top of bookshelves. I have a box full of new curriculum that needs a new home. So I do need to do some type of clean out, and I want that done this week. I don't want to start the school year with clutter. I want it to feel new and fresh. And so that is a goal that I have this year. I had an intention of kind of redesigning a few things in my schoolroom to make better space, but it didn't work out. So I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna use what I have, and I'm gonna do some purging and cleaning out so that I can put the new stuff in. The last thing I have on my mind right now, and my list might grow as the week goes on, but this is what I've thought of so far, is I'm going to start, and this kind of has to do with practicing our schedule, but I'm going to start adjusting our routine this week so that it's not a shock when we start school. One example of that is last year, something I realized is when my kids wake up, they usually eat breakfast right away. But if I have them get dressed before they eat, they get dressed a lot faster and they get ready for the day very quickly. And it's so nice. Whereas before, they were eating and then getting ready. And I'm like, come on, let's go. Get your clothes on, stop dilly-dallying. You know, little things like that that work better in our school year, I'm going to start reminding them this week. So, you know, even though it's summer break, I'm going to say, okay, we're going to get dressed before breakfast and that sort of thing. Just kind of adjusting our flow of the house to more of what I want school to look like. And it won't be perfect. We have some plans this week where we're not going to be able to do those things, but the days that we can, I'm going to try it because I want them to feel the adjustment too. We usually try to do a family devotion in the evening, and that kind of has fallen out over the summer. And so I'm going to try and bring that in this week so we can get that flow back in. Reading aloud before bed, that used to be something we did every day. Summertime, it just kind of fades away because you're staying up late and you're doing your things. And so that's an example of trying to flow back to our school rhythms. We usually have movie nights, you know, like we don't watch TV every single day, but we pick specific nights that they can watch things. And over the summer, that's just really relaxed. We don't really do that. And so now it's kind of going back to, okay, this is not a movie night. Let's play a game or let's do something else. So that is going to be a goal this week. And I probably should have been doing that even before, but we went on vacation. We just got back. So we definitely have some adjusting to do. And I think it's just going to help as we flow into our school schedule next week. Okay, so that's kind of what I have in my head. I know that was just kind of just a chatty checklist video. I always find videos inspirational, you know, when you hear somebody else and, oh, maybe I should do that. That's the reason I share it with you. I don't know the right way to plan for the homeschool year, but this is kind of what works for my brain. And so sometimes just spitting out ideas, I hope that it might inspire one of you or give you some new ideas. I'd love to know something that you do to really prep for the first week. So if I didn't mention something, comment below because you guys inspire me too. All right, so I'm excited to get going. Once we do a full week, I kind of want to share a video on a reflection of how that's going. You know, today I'm like, yay, let's do it. In my next video, I might go, okay, wow. So be on the lookout for that reflection coming soon.